On the surface, you think that the power scaling in Invincible is straightforward. You've got Omni-Man, a guy who can shake mountains, Battle Beast, the universe's apex predator, and even cosmic level threats like Omnipotence who can devour solar systems. But above all of them sits Grand Regent Thragg, the strongest Viltrumite to ever live. But here's the problem. Thragg is so absurdly powerful that he actually highlights the biggest flaw in the series. Invincible has a power scaling problem, and people are noticing and people are starting to get pissed. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys 4 characters who can absolutely wipe out all of the Viltrumites. So stay tuned until the end to find out who those 4 characters are. Now let's get into it. Now before we talk about Thragg, we need to understand the biology. Viltrumites aren't just strong aliens. They have smart atoms encoded in their DNA. These atoms operate on a subatomic power level, giving them things like super strength, flight, near invulnerability, and super healing as a biological fact. We've seen the baseline. Omni-Man, Mark, and Thaddeus literally flew through the planet Viltrum, a rock twice the size of Earth, and cracked it in half. That's the floor for high-tier Viltrumites. Thragg, however, was forged in a brutal civil war that pruned the population down to only the strongest. He ruled for thousands of years because he didn't just beat his opponents, he disassembled them. He ripped Thaddeus' head off, tore Omni-Man in half for the most part, and pretty much almost killed Oliver with a single punch. He's the finish line that Mark has spent his entire comic series trying to reach. But here's where the frustration kicks in. Understandable power scaling is important because it tells the audience how to feel. When we look at, anime like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto for that fact, we fear pain in the Naruto universe because his power is established. In Invincible, the framework slips constantly. For example, Mark fights Battle Beast, one of the top 3 strongest beings in the universe, and almost dies. Then he later receives a comparable amount of damage from a guy like Master Li Yu. If Li Yu is out here pretty much killing Mark, why isn't he out there fighting Viltrumites? If the Thraxians can build suits that bang pretty much any Viltrumite, then why aren't they in the coalition of planets? Well, Robert Kirkman avoids a stable system because he thinks it allows for better storytelling. But it actually shoots the story in the foot. It scales for emotional effect before it scales for system clarity. We see Nolan struggle to kill a giant bug in season 4. A bug. This is the same guy who sat on an event horizon of a black hole just because he was sad. Then Anissa flies through an even larger bug in one punch. Is Anissa stronger than Nolan? Or is the comic just changing their power levels because one scene needs struggle and the other one needs domination? Now, if you want to see the peak of the system, look at Thragg versus Battle Beast. Look at that fight in the comics. This is the definitive moment in the comics. Thragg enters the fight already disemboweled by Ragnar's. His guts are literally hanging out, and then he fights Battle Beast for 4 consecutive days. They impact the ground hard enough to destroy cities. Thragg loses an eye and half of his skull gets torn in two, but he wins by ripping Battle Beast's insides out. And the most insane part of this whole fight, it takes Thragg exactly 1 week to fully recover. That regeneration is a massive feat, but it also creates the Mark paradox. Readers ask Kirkman if Mark wins because humans have adrenaline and Viltrumites don't. Kirkman ended up laughing at them, but that logic would have actually established why Mark survives being, donutted or regrowing his spine. Without that consistency, fear becomes arbitrary. Now let's go back to Thragg for just a second because he's not just the toughest, he's the fastest. Viltrumites use the subspace atom jumping to bypass the speed of light for interstellar travel. Now Thragg's top speed involves chasing down a ship already moving at faster than light speeds, reacting to it and bulldozing it through. He's blitzed Omni-Man and Alan repeatedly. But again, when the audience loses that ability to understand the threat level, they lose the ability to know when to be nervous. If Mark can survive having his spine regrown in season 4, why should I ever be concerned about his safety? We lose long-term tension in exchange for instant gratification. We want the fight to be equal and cool, so everyone scales to exactly everyone else for the most part, so when they cross blades, we know what's going on. Now there's a huge misnarrative opportunity here. If Viltrumites interbreeding actually made their race stronger, giving them the best of both worlds, it would be a brilliant commentary on their eugenics-based culture. It would prove that their isolationism was their biggest weakness. But Kirkman views this as power scalers trying to ruin the story. By refusing to establish why someone is powerful, the comic teaches us that danger is whatever the current situation needs to be. Thragg is the strongest because he has to be, and Mark survives because he has to. It works for the hype, but it fails the system. Grand Regent Thragg is one of the most powerful, impressive characters in comic history. He is the literal ceiling of the Invincible universe, but he also represents the scaling trap, where the goal has to keep getting bigger because there's no background context doing the work. But as promised, I told you guys there are 4 characters who would absolutely wipe out the Viltrumites. I know this might be a little clickbaity, but the Powerpuff Girls would absolutely destroy the Viltrumites. Not only that, Krillin himself would wipe the floor with Grand Regent Thragg. I mean, when we think about it, it took 3 Viltrumites to destroy 1 planet. Krillin himself is a planetary problem. He can destroy a planet by himself. I mean, we've even seen Master Roshi destroy half the moon by himself. So a base level character in Dragon Ball Z or 3 Powerpuff Girls will wipe the floor with any Viltrumite, no problem. Anyways, what did you guys think? Is Thragg's power level the coolest thing you've seen in the series, or does the entire series lack consistency from the get-go? Let's keep this conversation going in the comments below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.